sugar and spice. I feel nice.
Welcome back. This is the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour on your hometown station AM 1220 KHTS. And I am Dr. Rochelle Feildman. Prior to the break, we were talking about the consequences of getting chickenpox. One of the reasons my son got so sick when he got chickenpox was because he was older. After age 10, with each increasing year, the chances of complications increase. When I was an intern, I recall very clearly that one of my co-interns ended up in the hospital with chickenpox pneumonia for 3 weeks. So it is not the benign disease that everybody thinks it is. And I recall clearly prior to my son's illness that I had cared for 3 children with chickenpox, one of whom died, and 2 of whom had the flesh-eating strep bacteria with it and lost almost 60% of their body surface area like a burn. This is not a fun disease. This is a serious disorder. The chickenpox shots were introduced in 1994 or 5, I think. It was about 2 years after my kids all got it. And I immediately vaccinated everybody who would say okay to it, because I knew what it was like to not have the vaccine. Truth of the matter is, I know what it's like to not have the vaccine for almost every vaccine-preventable illness now. Let me explain this. I, of course, was born after the DPT shots, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus, were already in existence. So I did not have experience personally with diphtheria, pertussis, or tetanus. However, I knew that my maternal uncle, my mother's brother, had died from diphtheria when he was 6 months old. So I knew it wasn't a good thing to have. Yeah. And I knew it gave you a terrible looking sore throat and closed up your airway. So my era, my generation did not get that. We did get the whole cell pertussis vaccine, which is whooping cough. And I also know that my mother had whooping cough pneumonia when she was a kid. But I didn't, because we got the whole cell vaccine. Now, in the old days, when we had the whole cell vaccine, at least 30% of all the kids after that shot would get fevers up to 103, 104. They'd scream for the next 24 hours. They were kind of miserable. And because of that, and because of a big issue in England, it seems that England is also always involved in a lot of these vaccine controversies. Interesting. Anyway, in England, they decided, because there was such a reaction to the whole cell vaccine, there was a public clamor, and they decided to stop vaccinating against pertussis. They took the pertussis out. Guess what happened? When I was a senior resident back in 1978, I'll be honest, okay, I actually was lucky enough to have a rotation in London at Hammersmith Hospital. Wow. With Dr. Dubowitz, Victor Dubowitz, who was like the father of modern pediatric neurology, and his wife Lily Dubowitz, Dr. Lily Dubowitz, who had done all of the developments of all of the gestational age screening. So this was a major luck out for me. So I got to be with the Dubowitzes and the crew at Hammersmith Hospital in the heyday of the early portions of pediatrics and high-tech medicine and neurology. And there I saw, in their wards, all 6 weeks that I was there, there were at least 8 to 10 children on ventilators because they had pertussis pneumonia.
Oh, man.
And in addition, I got to go to one of the monthly clinics that Dr. Dubowitz ran for the children who had survived pertussis encephalopathy. In other words, the whooping cough went to their brains, so they were retarded, palsied, unable to move. There were 40 children each clinic every month. All of it just due to whooping cough.
Whooping cough. I was going to say that's what pertussis is. It's
pertussis is whooping cough.
Yeah.
Well, I got done with that rotation, came back and said, I am never going to not immunize against pertussis ever again. Luckily, what happened was in the next few years, it pushed the manufacturers of the whole cell vaccine to develop a less, quotes, toxic version. They learned how to get rid of the whole cell and make it an acellular vaccine, so there were no cells, because it was the cell walls that were causing that kind of reaction. They got rid of the cell walls, and guess what? In the old days, when we used to give the kids their shots, we would always pre-treat them with Tylenol because so many of them got fever and were miserable. We don't do that anymore because very few children have reactions to their DPT shots now. It's not the same at all. It's like getting nothing. And as a result, more kids can be immunized more easily. Nonetheless, there are plenty of parents who still don't vaccinate, and we have had 3 years in a row whooping cough epidemics in the city of Los Angeles and in LA County, to the extent that we are considered now an endemic area for that, which means that we are a repository for whooping cough. So there you go. And I understand that we need to take another break, so we will be right back. This is the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.